Hello everybody and welcome back or welcome to the channel. I'm your host Jackal and I'm here to turn your time into the delightful show I know it can be. Today we're going over Drive Cars Down a Hill, a popular and simple Roblox title with more flaws than I'd like to admit. Please, ladies and gentlemen, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. DCDAH, Drive Cars Down a Hill. The game is as faithful to the name as one would expect from such a simple thing. You take a car and you drive it down a hill. This is with a few complications. Landmines, explosive barrels, naval mines that are on land, and other explosives and hazards. Some move to get you, others want you to move to get them, and few move you into ones that want you to be moved into them. In simplicity, these hazards are classified in several ways that I will be going over. Impact hazards, explosives. Upon making contact with any of these, or in some instances, breaking contact with them, they will detonate, likely launching you and your vehicle in a brutal blast that will shake the earth beneath your feet. Spikes and grinders, rusty impaling pieces that, if the blood loss doesn't kill you, the tetanus will. Walls and rocks. Inertia is a funny thing. Sir Isaac Newton stated that every action has an equal and opposite reaction. At a certain speed, that reaction will decimate your vehicle. Movement hazards. Oil slicks. Segments, primarily, if not strictly, in the running water. Segments also from the dreaded that will move you in a direction that the water flows. Hills. Unsurprisingly, Drive Cars Down a Hill features a lot of hills, primarily ones that go down forwards. This generates and maintains momentum, which will carry you into impact hazards. These can also go upwards, taking all momentum and, in heavier, weaker, or simply less balanced vehicles, sending you to the side helplessly into another hazard. Fans. I only ever faced one fan, so sorry if you are really looking forward to some epic footage of me getting hurled to my doom. Fans instantly hurl you and your vehicle in whatever direction they're facing once you step into the breeze they're forming. Timing hazards. Pistons. Pistons are moving entities in the Hydro chapter that will crush and hurl you around if you don't slip past them with the right timing. Horsewalkers. Horsewalkers in this game aren't even nearly as pleasant as they seem. Automatically rotating, rusty, spiked gates of death that will mash and smash your vehicle mercilessly if you don't rotate with them. Stay near the center, it moves less technically there. Fall hazards. Pits. Pits consist of rivers, ravines, dams, and anything else that will instantly lead you back to spawn. These usually have one or two ways to get over them, being bridges and ramps. With that, I welcome you to watch and listen to my Robloxian driving test. This test will consist of 3 main chapters and a sub-chapter primarily used for speedrunning that I will not be discussing. Chapter 1, the desert. Impact hazards, minor motion hazards, and fall hazards. Chapter 2, bunk laps. Impact, minor motion, and fall hazards. Chapter 3, Hydro chapter. Impact, motion, fall, and timing. Murphy's Law applies here in full effect, as everything that can go wrong will go wrong. Chapter 1 is what I consider to be the tutorial, or the starting point of this driving test. Simple, straightforward, and easy to understand, with the main hazard being that of any usual driving test. Speed and precision is the only thing you have to exercise here. Everything is possible here, no matter how you time it. Momentum is your only enemy, but it's also your greatest asset. The only limitation here is the physics engine. With certain cars going at certain speeds, you can get very easily stuck in place, whether that's in a wall, rock, or even the ground you're supposed to be driving on. I get it. Clipping is an issue in almost every three-dimensional video game, but I have only one complaint. This is a driving game, with ramps made for speed for the sake of fun. If I go too fast and clip through the ground in a speed-based game while trying to go fast in a car with an ability called unlimited speed, that gets to be an issue. Clipping, invisible walls, areas that literally look like pathways but aren't pathways, it's ridiculous and extremely common in the first chapter. The other three, for the most part, are nearly free of these issues. That's my only genuine complaint. Back to the video. Go as fast or as slow as you want here, but I personally prefer the old jalopy. It's a masterpiece of engineering, held up at this point with its own rust, dust, and nothing else. That is, assuming physics apply to this damn thing better than they do to everything else in the game. I do have several citable instances of this vehicle just floating around, all wheels ripped right off of their axles, and instances of me essentially levitating without any sort of vehicle at all beneath or around me aside from a speck or two of metal floating around my character. Or, as you see here, I simply ride a fireball through the entirety of the first chapter with no visible car in sight. To explain, your vehicle sustains visible but not functional damage. It will lose pieces of the frame and of the main section, such as the entire engine block. When your vehicle sustains enough damage, it will light on fire and eventually explode. But this, strangely, isn't the end of the vehicle's use. For whatever reason, the developers didn't think to simply make the car unusable after exploding, or to remove the fire, so the vehicle can sustain infinite damage, and be left as a simple fire effect with a few hitboxes for the seats. For my clip, I used the Yeep, which I had simply felt like driving and accidentally demolished towards the end of the first chapter. The only reason I discovered how to do this and how it worked is because after exploding, it landed right next to me and I asked myself, what happens if I get back in that hunk of junk? After this breezy drive, you suddenly realize that this game is going to require some patience, as the road is suddenly covered with explosives, and then there just is no road. To the military base, through their minefields, into the dried up path filled with naval mines, and to the end. Easy peasy, unless you're driving a massive vehicle that requires a large amount of control, especially with its momentum, as the segment after the military base both begins and concludes with a massive slope. Everything in Chapter 2's first two checkpoints is basically the easiest to dodge. Once you reach the third checkpoint, storage, you will begin to sustain some real damage. Landmines, barrels, and gaps in the ground to dump you into the void and send you back to the checkpoint instantly. The main issue with Checkpoint 3 isn't even the hazards, it's the fact that DCDAH suddenly said, fuck it, we're not doing that anymore, and became drive cars up a hill, alternating between the two to completely screw your momentum. You're not usually meant to be driving a full-size truck that, when going top speed, produces enough kinetic energy to simply reduce another vehicle to nothing more than metallic splatter. From the start of the checkpoint to the faithful and rather epic drop, the path is basically just several consecutive sand dunes, causing you to either use a car that ramps like an action hero off of dunes, or struggles for half an hour to get up the slope. Not only that, but if you choose the latter, there are a few of these slopes you can ramp off of that are meant to send you over a gap hidden behind said slopes, and only specific parts of that gap are actually bridged to avoid simply dumping every vehicle that can't break 100 miles per hour in 3.5 seconds going uphill into the void. In other words, cargo vroom vroom or cargo bye bye. After all this, it simply dumps you down a cliff. No, this isn't satire. After this set of hazards, it dumps you off of the tallest intentionally descended distance in the game as far as I have measured in my experiences. And then, with an estimated 1 in 10 chance, which I researched, you can simply somehow piss off the physics engine and get crushed by literally nothing following your landing, demolishing your vehicle and you, killing you as you're just supernaturally dragged into the sky, and also taking all motivation to speedrun and all chance for the run you were doing instantly. Then you are put through a simple maze, if you can call it that. Large mounds of seemingly natural rock with explosives scattered scarcely within, forcing you to slow down and navigate at a medium pace. After that is the last dire obstacle of the chapter. You are forced onto a thinner, winding path covered with hundreds of bombs, with either side being capable of simply dumping you into the void. This part has killed me so many times and taken so many runs that I genuinely hate thinking about it more than any specific obstacle in Hydro Chapter. But I still think I would rather do it than just all of Hydro Chapter. Finally, it's time for Hydro Chapter. Killer of speedruns, Butcher of Haste, and Lord of Hazards. Murphy's Law embodied as a level of the game. God have mercy on your soul, because if you struggled before, you're going to have a literal hell of a time with this. With the previous segments of the game, I've been able to pinpoint and drag out the more difficult sections for the sake of your entertainment, but with Hydro Chapter, I literally cannot do that. After the starting cruise, the entire chapter is nothing but painstaking misery wrapped in on itself, with all hazards I've discussed in the game, and all of my efforts being poured into it. It's best that I simply let you witness what is going to transpire. And now finally for the most difficult yet somehow most enjoyable obstacle in the entire game. I don't know how to describe this obstacle. It is, as you can see on the screen, a sort of differently colored area with pits of what I can only assume to be magma or some sort of molten substance with a series of oil slicks all throughout it. This is, as of what I am aware of, the only area to have oil slicks in the game. The explosive barrels are also, for whatever reason, drastically more powerful than the other explosive barrels throughout the game. This section isn't exactly the most difficult thing, so to speak. I kind of amped it up a bit, but it is one of the coolest and most dangerous. Not difficult, dangerous. One screw up is hard to make, but once you make it, you're pretty much screwed. Going down this final section, it is completely covered in oil. It is a good strategy to knock down the cones into the barrels beneath them so as to avoid exploding and simply having the barrel be removed from the equation entirely. If you go too fast, you'll slide into the next barrel. If you go too slow, well, that's just boring. And then the one fan in the entire game. This next section, however, is the most difficult. The last was simply the most dangerous. This section includes a set of horse walkers in a sort of maze, as you can see me being absolutely decimated by, as well as I'm gonna let you see it for yourself. What you see before you is drive cars down a hill in a nutshell, at least the entire Hydro chapter jammed into a nutshell. It is a downward hill, as one would expect, but it is covered in holes and spikes to, at any moment, if you want the slightest bit of haste, take your life. It is insanely difficult to go down, and I just ramped over it because YOLO, I've done this before. But you get the point. The first time you see that, it is pants-shitting terror. This crusher that I've just died to is, the easiest, arguably, timing hazard to avoid in the entire game. However, it is also at the very end, and I just did, like, the coolest jump I have ever done in the entire game, so cut me some slack. And with that, I have finished the main game. There is no actual, like, teleporter after this that would simply send you to the last bit that we haven't gone over yet, but as you can see, it's basically concluded. There's nothing beyond this point, and there's just teleporters to the other two. So let's go to North Nevada. North Nevada is what I simply like to refer to as the speedrun section of the game. There are very few actual hazards in the game beyond impact and motion, those motion being primarily just downhill. There are a few drop hazards towards the end that make it so that there is something to do other than simply go fast, but other than that, the entire chapter is centered more around fun than excruciating horror such as what is inflicted on you in Hydro chapter. So, what I like to do in this part is simply grab the muscle vehicle with the jets strapped to the back and fly as fast as possible throughout the entirety of this section. Gotta go fast, quote the blue hedgehog from the funny Nintendo Sega game. To put it simply, the remainder of the game that I haven't already gone over is simply slop. It exists for the sake of existing in the game, not for the sake of posing a challenge. And this is not to say that it is terrible. I personally absolutely love this section, but that is also because I speedrun. It's what I like to do in this game. I see fast car, I want to go fast in fast car. Who doesn't? But there's not really anything entertaining other than going fast. The experience of going fast, at least in this game, is a lot more remarkable from the perspective of the person doing it. For the sake of that, I'm going to conclude the video here. Thank you everybody, ladies and gentlemen, for watching. I've been your host, Jackal, and this has been a video that has taken way too long to post.